Interview with Hannah Parsons and Joe Strickland, creators of Hairy Hands FM.
Joe, where did the project's inspiration come from? Why Hairy Hands?
The inspiration for the project came from, the idea that everyone had been spending a lot of time in their houses, and the inside of your house might be getting too familiar, and that we wondered if there was a way that we could create some sort of experience that you could do in your home that would make you see your house in a new, maybe more exciting or more interesting light. We realized that we can't decorate, so audio seemed like the next best option to give everyone's house like a fresh audio coat of paint, as it were, to give them a nice kind of fun, silly but semi-serious, if they wanted to pretend that it was serious, sort of experience, just to distract themselves for about 15-20 minutes.
Hannah, can you explain to me as simply as possible the process for creating the binaural sound effects?
So the audio that's used in this project is called binaural audio, which is 3D audio, and it basically differs from normal stereo audio where you listen to headphones and the sounds sound outside of your headphones and outside of your head, whereas normal headphones sort of plays on the inside your head space. I used a load of post-production plugins, which are mainly used for virtual reality projects, but I also used these bad boys, binaural heads, which I made at home, and it's a dummy head with two like silicone ears which have microphones inside, and it replicates the way a normal human head listens to sounds and sort of perceives it. But basically, if you place that in a space and record sounds around it, it will just completely capture as a human head would. I use that technology, and it was quite fun. There's a lot of experimenting to do with that as well.
You've mentioned to me outside of this interview, Hannah, some unusual methods stroke objects were used to create some of the sounds. Can you give me your wackiest example?
I mean, with every sound designer, there's always a weird Foley story. Probably the strangest one is I needed to make a noise, and I couldn't quite find anything powerful enough by flicking water onto a frying pan or anything. So we have a lot of tools around the house and a blowtorch, of course, and we have an old soldering iron, which is one of the long ones on a stick, which has a sort of iron clump at the end. So I heated that up really, really hot and spent about 20 minutes heating it up and into the toilet and creating this sound of all the steam coming up from under the water. That was the strangest one, I think. The room that I'm working in right now has it's like a Aladdin's cave of things that make really cool noises, but it just looks a bit, you wouldn't know that any of these things are useful unless you're a sound designer. So my parents have had to be dealing with that as well, me just taking bits and pieces from the kitchen and wondering what I'm doing with it. Also a few instances where I'd be recording at weird times, and there's some knocking in the piece. If you don't tell your parents that you're recording and these are recording sounds, they'll think someone's at the door, and I think that happened a few too many times.
And here's an example Hannah's kindly provided of creating some of the door knocking and scraping sounds for Hairy Hands FM.
Finally, Hannah, what is it about being a Foley artist, though I should add that's far from the only string to your creative bow, you so enjoy?
You really have to assess how you listen to sound and how things sound in real life. It's not how you would perceive them in a theatrical piece or a specific audio artwork. Sometimes I spend a lot of time sitting in a room or a place and sort of listening to what sounds are where and what I think those sounds are. And once you try to replicate them, they turn out incredibly differently if you're making them from scratch. And I really like building that world and creating that thing and learning all the fun noises you can make from random objects. I think that's the best part of it. You really get to know lots of tactile and cool things about lots of normal objects, and I think that's great.
What are your own experiences of Dartmoor? Joe first.
I've been there once. I kind of I did some walking and some hiking. It was really nice. I always loved spaces like that, kind of like big, wide, wild outdoor spaces. I think it's not surprising that there's so much kind of folklore and mysticism surrounding them. And I think that it's yeah, I would love to go back and, I don't know, listen to the experience in situ, I guess, or maybe make another one or something. Yeah, that could be this is an experience actually kind of within the moor itself.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I've been specifically to the Dartmoor region. I have read lots of books about it. There's lots of TV representation, but the most interesting thing I found was someone called Ian Humberson had written an album about the legend of the hairy hands and sort of Dartmoor myths and legends. It's very evocative and sort of takes you to that place, and that's not a replacement for visiting somewhere geographically, but it's really interesting and very otherworldly and sort of bleak and exciting. But I still haven't visited. I absolutely should.
What do you hope people will take away from your piece?
I like that the piece, in the vein of a lot of horror, there's clearly some sort of like allegorical thing going on. And I think that within the piece, you're confronted with a chaotic, mysterious force that you don't know if you can overcome. You've just heard it completely destroy another location, but now it's in your house and you have to try and survive it. And with some help and some guidance and some trust in yourself, you sort of approach and try and escape, and eventually, fingers crossed, overcome and defeat the hairy hands. And I think that a lot of people at the moment probably find themselves in situations where they're up against something chaotic and mysterious, and they're not quite sure what to do about it, for all sorts of reasons and all sorts of walks of life. And I think that any experience that might give you a little push in the direction of it's okay, trust people, talk to people, work together, go for it, and eventually stuff that needs overcoming will be overcome, I think is probably a good message.
I think people can take that message away from the piece as well, but also from the sound design perspective of it, because it's an audio only stimulus that you're receiving. It shows you the power of your own creative imagination, and it sort of reinforces that you can still have adventures and really cool new fun experiences even when you're stuck in your own home.
To find out more about and try the immersive audio experience that is Hairy Hands FM for yourself, go to the URL listed on screen now and follow the instructions from there from Listen on your mobile device. The experience can be accessed also via laptop, but if your mobile is compatible, it's recommended. The project will be available via the BBC until the end of June. After then, it will still be available on Chronic Insanity Theatre's website. Likewise, to find out more about Hannah and Joe's other work, check the website and social media URLs on screen now. The interviewer and video creator was me, Ivan Morris Poxton. The Hairy Hands FM graphics title was courtesy of Chronic Insanity Theatre. All other still images used, and of course the sound effects creation example video, were courtesy of Hannah Parsons. Thank you for watching.